Hello, my name is Matt Berry. This is my wife, Leanne Berry. We live at 117 Kedzie. We purchased the house in 2009 and have lived there ever since. In the time since being there, we've had 2 children, and the quirky layout of the house has kind of pushed us to the limit, and we're looking to add a small dormer renovation onto the back with a mudroom as well. We were here before in February. It was our first time going through the process, and I was a bit unfamiliar with what to bring to communicate the design concept to you guys, so I hope I do a better job this time around. This is a map of, obviously, Kedzie Street and the southern end of the Lakeshore Historic District. The red area is our property. You can see we are right on the fringe of a kind of an odd area in the Lakeshore Historic District where there's a high concentration of multi-story apartment dwellings and condominium buildings, most of them 3 to 4 stories. There we are again. Our house is actually on an alley, which is shared with the apartment buildings on Michigan Avenue just to the west. This creates a kind of interesting nexus of uses and activities. There's a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of traffic with the apartment buildings, and it's sort of where sort of that higher density graduates down to a lower single-family density. Just to the west of the alley is R5, and we're R1. There you can see that alley looking from Kedzie Street to the north. That's the building immediately to our west, Beverly Castle. It's a condominium building. And you can see the new utility pole installed by ComEd. It's heavily trafficked, you know, a lot of garbage trucks and all the like, and a lot of traffic coming through the area. This is a shot of the alley looking to the south. You can see the concentration of 3- and 4-story buildings to the west of our house, and then the larger houses to the east of our house. So our house for the neighborhood is one of the smaller houses. It's sort of an anomaly for the area as far as square footage. That's the house as it exists presently. And these weren't part of the package last time, so I went to great lengths to kind of communicate the idea and get as realistic as possible this time around. And that would be the dormer addition to the house in the back. So before and after. The house has kind of a strange layout. This is the upstairs layout. It sort of has 2 large bedrooms, and then the other rooms, there's a sleeping porch to the front, which is tough to really use with kids and to have privacy. And then the bedroom to the top is really small, and the ceiling is part of that initial gable of the roof, so there's really that dashed line running north-south is where the roof starts to protrude down into the room, so that when you get to the wall on the right-hand side, the ceiling height is about 30 inches over there. So really the only usable space is sort of as you come in those doors, and then it starts to get down. Ceiling height is down quite a bit. So the idea was just to extend those rooms out. The main driver of the design is, if you see on the bottom there, we're just trying to get 11 feet in the bedroom, so that bedroom at the bottom becomes an 11-foot by 11-foot bedroom. And that's sort of kind of as tight as I can go. There's the existing house. There's the drawing from last time. These are a detail of the gussets that are proposed to hold the addition up, or the dormers. The star is designed to mimic the existing tie rods that hold the rafters in place on the second floor, which are shown in there on the west elevation. Upon our last meeting, it was suggested that I look at other precedents in the neighborhood, so I did some research and kind of cased out people's backyards looking for specific overhangs, and I met a lot of my neighbors. The beginning, we kind of start south of our property in the blocks of Judson, Forest, and Michigan, kind of looking for similar details and additions, and some of these are original to the house. This one at 1114 Lakeshore Boulevard, I thought showed that idea pretty well. My wife and I also asked our immediate neighbors if they, to look at the design and for comments and to get their approval on the design. So we were able to get all of our immediate neighbors, including the owners of the condominium buildings to the west. So we have everybody in that R5 district on the west side of the alley, our immediate neighbor, and around the Horn all the way onto Sheridan, 3 houses down. So anyone that we share the alley with or that's going to be looking at the addition signed off on that they approved it. Also, I did take to heart your comments last time. I looked at some possible other designs, how to make it work, what I could do staying within the existing footprint, which trust me, I'd like to do that if I could. It's an easier thing to build. But unfortunately, what it does is it involves destroying an existing bathroom, which is in great shape, which I don't really want to do. And it adds cost to the project. So this would be one idea. We lose a bathtub in the bathroom. We lose a double sink in the bathroom. So things just get whittled down. So we sort of get a watered down version of what we initially kind of set out to do. But I did study it. I studied extending into that stairwell as what was proposed too. I don't have ceiling height, which is an issue. And what it does is it forces me to basically dormer across the entire length of the house, which structurally is not a great idea, just kind of keeping the house stiff and together. And it adds, just additional improvement and cost that that's not really meaningful. It gives us a huge vaulted stairway, which is, I don't know, we're just not interested in adding space to the house that we can't use in a functional manner. And then just some design sketches. So I've really, just to sort of show evidence of the studies and going through it and really having the opportunity to be there for, 9 years now and live with the house and kind of understand its quirks. This is just a sampling of the amount of kind of, fiddling that has gone on.
Any final comments? Yeah.
I think you've heard, Matt cares greatly about the house. We care greatly about the neighborhood. We want to invest back in the neighborhood. We want to stay there. We love our schools. We love Evanston. So I think just being able to reinvest in the existing house that we live in is huge to us. And yeah, I mean, I think Matt, he underestimates how much he's worked on this. Again, we've lived there 9 years, and there's not been a day that he hasn't showed me a sketch of what this could look like. And we've really visited every possible iteration. So I think it's reflected in what he has presented, and we thank you for the consideration.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners? Do I need to poll folks?
Wake everybody up.
Did you have a
Actually, you do.
question, Elliot?
No, I want to say it's, I mean, you've stayed with what you had, but you've done a marvelous job of going back and, sort of selling it if it needed selling. But I think you've made the case, and you certainly explored. I think the issue last time was really over that rear entry, as I recall, what you were doing with the roof above that rear entry and the stairs. And that's the only thing I could remember is what was happening there, and I'm not sure what you did. Wasn't it something to do with that window above the,
It's pretty much the same. I didn't have a great rendering last time, and I feel sometimes, as we all know, two-dimensional drawings don't really accurately convey a three-dimensional object. And I did have a line axonometric, but it certainly didn't kind of go to the lengths I did with this rendering.
no, it's nice.
Okay. Other questions? Are we ready to entertain a motion on this one? The standards for construction and demolition apply?
Yes.
Okay. We'll start with construction.
All
Or
right.
were we going to do both of them together? Was that, okay.
We
can
can do
make
both.
one motion.
One motion.
And cover all of the standards as long as they're,
A new way of doing it.
as long as they're noted.
I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness for 117 Kedzie Street to construct for applicable standards for construction 1, 3, 7, 8, 10, 12 through 15, to construct a new one-story mudroom and a second-story dormer addition at the rear of the house, as well as demolition 1 through 5.
Okay. Is there a second? Mark? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ken is opposed? Okay,
Thank you guys so
Thank
much for your
you.
time.
thank you.
Did you sign that?
Moving on to new business, the first item or case under new business is 1419 Lake Street.
Well, hello, I'm Sebastian Cosier. I'm the applicant and owner of 1419 Lake Street. Our plan is to build a two-car garage with a storage on top. Here it is. Currently, the house doesn't have a garage. So this This is the main house that we are renovating, all the inside, and then of course we're going to repaint all the outside, and then there are a bunch of boards that need to be replaced, including the front porch. The house was completely abandoned and is in complete disrepair, so that's why we are doing this extensive renovation in the inside. This is the player survey where it shows that there's no garage at the property at the moment. There's no alley, so it's so basically the parking situation right now is it has a curb cut, and then you can access the parking space from the street. This is our proposed site plan. The garage is going to be at the end of the property on the north side, with the required setbacks. And then it's going to have a long driveway to go from the street all the way down to the garage. The size of the garage is can we zoom in? No.
Let's see. I have to get out of this mode. Hold on a second.
It's over there by the percentage. You can crank it up.
That one is plus, yeah.
There.
Hold up. No, it goes back to the.
Okay. Well, the only thing I want to point it out is the size of the garage, which is 20 by 25. So 20 wide by 25 feet deep.
There we are.
There we go. 20 by 25. And then it has, so in the next one,
You have to press the button going up.
oh,
Hold on.
no, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I can move is the image. Okay, there. So that's the. So the two-car garage of the garage is going to be facing the front because again there's no alley, so the access is going to be from the front from the street. It's going to have a side door on the east side with a single door, and then like a roofed entrance with two windows on the side. And then one window in the back and then one window in the front, mimicking the same windows that the house has originally in the front of the house, with the same window, like glass dividers, and the same style of the existing house. The angle of the, so we try to carry all the same style from the main house. The slope of the roof and the siding is going to be wood siding, the moldings, and carrying all the style of the original house to the garage. Again, it's going to be a two-car garage on the bottom, and it's going to be unfinished storage space on the top. The house, the original house, doesn't have a lot of storage. That's why we are building this. So then there is a little bit more storage for the next people to have more room in there. These are just electrical construction plans. So you can see again the roof lines of the main house, and then you can see the garage.
I think you have also 3D.
Say it again.
You have the 3D drawing next, I think.
Oh, there we go. So this view is northwest view. And again, the two garage is facing the street. There is no alley in the back. It's a landlocked property.
Okay. Great. Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, I'm looking at that picture. What kind of windows do you have above the garage door? Because all the others look like they're double hung.
The front is also double hung and has a divider. It's not shown here. It's like this.
Go to your proposed. That window,
Yeah, I'm sorry. We forgot to put the dividers as a double hung.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
that
not
was a
going to be.
question.
They're not going to be casements.
Okay, that was.
They're all going to be. They're all going to be double hungs.
Okay. Any other questions? Are we ready to entertain a motion for this one? Okay, Mark. And the standards for construction apply.
Okay. Excuse me. Maybe. I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness for 1419 Lake Street for the construction of a new two-car detached garage in accordance with applicable standards for construction 1, 3, 7, 8, 10, and 12 through 15.
Is there
Second.
a second? Robert? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Next is 1236 Forest Avenue. Hi, Gary.
Excuse me. My name is Gary Shoemaker. I'm here to present the project at 1236 Forest. I apologize. The package that we submitted didn't have a full rear elevation drawn, so I've brought one.
Okay. Great, thanks, Gary.
Yeah, give me a second, okay?
That's not it.
Can you read what it says there?
Yeah. I'm looking for 1236 Forest.
I know, it's just that I had all lined up and I don't know what happened to the projects.
No, that's, yeah,
Hold on.
something else.
I need to find the right file here. And that's Lake. What project are we looking at?
1236 Forest.
Down to, there you go.
That one? Okay, couldn't see it from here. Sorry about that.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a fairly simple project. This is an existing sleeping porch that has screen panels on it that's constructed over a heated and enclosed kitchen space in this house. What we're proposing to do is replace the existing screen panels with insulated Marvin Ultimate casement windows to infill these openings. You can see that the house, maybe you can't. You can see that the house has a number of existing bracket details on the exterior. We're not touching anything on the outside shell of this house. We're going to remove the wood screens, the wood frame screens, and construct everything from the inside. If you look at the drawing that we included in the packet, and also the one I just gave you, you can see that we're maintaining these brackets and we're setting the casements and the transoms behind it. The reason we continued that exterior drawing is to show that the continuation of the mulled windows and the mutton-based windows is consistent with this house. all the finishes on the upper story of the home are dark brown windows. You can see the frames of the windows here. You can see the frames here. So our windows will be pre-finished dark brown to match the paint on the house. The stucco remains as it is. We are adding a layer of roofing to the top. We're going to pad that up by the dimension of a 2x4 so that we can foam and insulate the roof structure. Currently, it's a 3 seasons porch, and we'll be introducing electric baseboard heat in there so we can keep the space warm as a family room. Additionally, we're proposing 3 modular skylights to be located on the higher upper portion of that roof, which is up here. And you can see in the elevation that we provided, that section occurs high and against the back face of the house. And these are low profiles. These are low profile fixed skylights. They're not operable. Any questions?
Okay. Any questions? Anybody? Okay. You answered the one that I had, so are we ready to entertain a motion on this one? The applicable standards are those for alteration? Don't all step forward at once.
I guess I can go again.
Go ahead, Robert.
Elliot. I'd like to make a motion to accept a. All right. Forgot
To issue a certificate of
There we go.
appropriateness.
To issue a certificate of appropriateness for 114 Kedzie Street.
No, we're at 1236
Oh, boy.
Forest Avenue. Not yet.
I am not paying
It's
attention.
ready to go home.
There we go. Gary, I'm sorry. 1236 Forest Avenue.
Some people in the audience were feeling lucky.
Uh-oh. Replace the existing fixed screen panels of a sleeping porch with Marvin Ultimate clad casement windows and install 3 modular skylights over the existing sleeping porch. Existing asphalt membrane roof and the aluminum gutters will be replaced with a build-up copper sheet membrane and copper half round gutters. And these are applicable standards, alteration 1 through 5, 9, and 10.
Is there a second? Mark? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Gary. Next is the application for 114 Kedzie Street.
This is
That's it.
114 Kedzie.
Kedzie.
Hello. Yeah. My name's John Ailey. I'm with the company that's proposing to install this solar electric system on this house. We can show you the pictures of it, and I can answer some questions. Let me make sure I know how to do this. Yep, there we go. The idea is we want to offset the electric usage with solar, and the design is putting the panels. You can see this is the overhead view of the house. We're putting them on the east and the west face of the roof, and where those circles are, my partner made diagram showing what you would be able to see from those different vantage points. So this is the farthest on the east side of end of the block. As you can see, the trees pretty much cover. You can't really see the house to speak of from that point. And this is just the view of what's there without the obstructions. Then just east of the home, as you can see, the roof is high enough that somebody standing on the sidewalk is not actually going to be able to see the panels that are on the roof. And that's the CAD drawing that he made of that. On this other west of the home, you can see the roof. And yeah, that's the one vantage point where you would see the panels, some of the panels on the west side of the roof. That's the CAD drawing. Farther down the street, then the trees block it again, and you're not really able to see the panels on the roof. But the basic point is, and from the alley, you're basically not going to be able to see much of anything that's on that roof. So, looking straight on, you can see the panels are elevated above the roof about 3 inches. These are just the representation of how we propose to put them on, and that's the racking plan. This is more relevant probably for the plan reviewers.
This is the end of the graphics.
Yeah, that's the end of the graphics.
Okay.
So every attempt is made to put them as far back as we can, but the customer does have the goal of offsetting his electric usage with solar. He points out that his family has occupied this house since 1928. His grandfather bought it. He's been living there ever since, and he wants to bring it into the bring the electric infrastructure up to what our goal is these days, I guess. He would suggest that his grandfather probably would have approved if solar was available back when he bought the house. So anyway, questions, issues?
Questions from the commission? I had some concerns going by the house today that, certainly when the trees are leafed out,
Yeah, right.
you can't probably see some things, but I will tell you, particularly from that alley view, at least according to the drawings that you have, it's going to be pretty evident that those panels are up there, especially given they're elevated a certain amount.
Let's see here. Let's go back to the CAD view for the alley. Okay, well, yeah, it depends how
Not
close you are.
the
Depends how
rear, it would
close
be
you're-
the west elevation. Yeah.
This is the one you're talking about.
No,
right?
actually, if you're looking at the front of the house, it's
See,
there.
This is the view that you. This is the view that's not particularly blocked. I have to admit that.
right.
That's the view that's not particularly blocked. Yeah, on this side.
It's less
when you get
evident
closer to the
from-
house, you're
yeah,
not really going to
it's
see
less
it.
evident there.
Farther down the street, perhaps if the leaves weren't on the tree, you might be able to see more. That's
Also, in that one shot, unfortunately, it looks like they've taken the tree down and no one's replaced the parkway tree.
Yeah, that's another issue, Alex. But that was really the area of concern that I had about it, and
Oh, in other
certainly
words,
I.
there should be a tree in there?
Should be a tree about where the van
And
is.
certainly I appreciate, the homeowner's objective in terms of energy efficiency. Any other questions from other commissioners?
I just want to understand what this is going to look like, because there are no pictures of like existing facilities, I think. So the top of the panels is just 3 inches off the roof?
The whole panel is parallel to the roof.
Right.
There's a racking system that's fastened to the roof with rails, and the end result is that the panel is roughly 3 inches.
To the bottom of it or to the top
What?
of it? To the top of the panel? Of
Yeah.
the roof?
The
roughly
entire
speaking.
thickness, Mark.
Yeah, the frame is about an inch thick, an inch and a half thick, and then they're up a little bit. Yeah.
In terms of, is it reflective? What's the color compared
They're
to the
dark.
roof?
They're dark colored. They're designed to absorb light. They're not designed
Right.
to reflect light. Reflecting light, you lose efficiency. So the idea is to absorb and use as much of the light as you can. And yeah, they are darker than the.
How much
than the
of
roof.
how much of their electric are they really trying to offset here?
They're trying to offset pretty close to, like, in other words, the goal, if you have enough space on your roof, is to produce as much but not more kilowatt hours per year as you use from ComEd. I mean, they'll be using ComEd at night and in the wintertime, and they'll be producing extra during the summer that will offset their usage in the winter. That's the basic system that most people go for at this point.
I assume that they could be removed.
Oh yeah, no, they can. I mean, the goal is these panels are supposed to last 25 years. They're guaranteed to last for 25 years. So if they're installed properly, which we do, basically you set it up and it just runs for the next 25 years.
Any final questions on this one? If so, are we ready to entertain a motion? And the standards for alteration apply?
I'll do it. I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness for 114 Kedzie for the installation of solar voltaic panels on the east and west roofs of the home, with the modules roughly 3 inches thick on top of the roof plane. I'm not going to read all that description there. And the applicable standards are for alteration 1 through 5, 9, and 10.
Is there a second? And all in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Mark?
Abstain?
Or abstain? Okay.
Not green enough, Mark.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is 1218 Sheridan Road.
Good evening. John Potter from Morganti Wilson Architects. We're the architects for Donna Welch, who, can I start right there?
Just let me open this. Left and right.
There we go. So this is at 1218 Sheridan Road. It's a 1901 Ernest Mayo house. Our client, Donna Welch, who apologizes, she was not able to rearrange her schedule. So she's traveling this week and she wasn't able to make it. but she's undergoing a multi-phased renovation of the house. She's looking forward to moving into the house in June with her 2 daughters. And included in this renovation, the house being built in 1901 has several repairs, and though it's been very well maintained and carefully renovated over the years, things that she has had to take care of right now include replacing the sewer, as well as the catch basin. The basement structural members also have to be reinforced and or replaced. And the house also does not have a garage. So she will be back here shortly, because one of the things that we're going to be asking for in the near future is to build a garage on the house. But as you can see, the existing house has a slate roof. We surmise that it was installed probably in the 1920s. Underneath the existing slate roof is the original cedar shingle roof. The reason why we think it was probably put in the 20s is because it was installed with galvanized valley flashing, as well as step flashing. And now that the flashing is approaching 90 years, it's failing. Unfortunately, because the existing slate roof is installed on a cedar shingle roof, we're unable to repair it. Additionally, we're unable to repair the flashing. So she's at a juncture right now where she's faced with replacing the entire roof. As you know, I think this is actually the house. There is actually, in the back of the house, there's 2 parts of the house, which is included in the next plan, I believe. You can see the flat part in the roof is already existing asphalt shingle.
John,
Sorry?
top in the middle is the pointer.
Right there. There you go. So right there.
Yeah.
And then this area, too, is already granulated asphalt. This is actually what we're proposing. I have 3 bids. I've included a summary included, and if you'd like to see them, we can show them to you. It's from Hanson Roofing. The 3 bids were to replace the entire roof with cedar shingles, which I think was, hold on, sorry, about $107,000. An asphalt shingle roof, which would be a slate line product, and I did bring samples for you. So this is the slate line roof. Our roofer Hanson has actually pointed out
If
that
I
this is.
could ask you
Sure.
to maybe set that up, or at least, okay,
There you go.
okay.
And
Thank you.
Hanson's actually pointed out that this is the very product that when the slate roof was replaced on the Civic Center, this was the product that was used. So, I think it gives you an idea. In order to install the slate line roof, we still have to remove the entire roof. We are proposing to replace the flashing with lead-coated copper, so that would be all the valleys, all the step flashing. We do have to re-roof the roof, resheathe the roof. And then in addition, we'd install the 30-year asphalt shingles. The 3rd bid that we received would be to replace the slate with a like slate. That would still need to be resheathed, so we'd be resheathing it, and then it would include the same flashing, and that came in at about $180,000. So this is a rendering that actually shows the slate line roof product on the house. So it gives you an idea. One thing I did notice, though, parking the car today, that on the Civic Center, one thing that you guys have done, or that the architect had proposed, was using some of the slate roof details. So I think that's actually one thing that, after seeing it here, would be one thing to consider. You guys have the snow guards, and there's also some other additional flashing, so that's one thing that we'd obviously be willing to talk about.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions from commissioners?
What was the reason for not choosing the cedar, which I think is the lowest cost of the 3?
Correct, you are. The biggest concern for Donna Welch was it was only going to be recommended for an 18 to 20-year use. She was also concerned about the maintenance of a cedar roof, and she actually preferred the kind of maintenance-free aspect of the asphalt roof. She also likes the look of the simulated slate look of the asphalt shingle.
Then why not the simulated slates, which are?
We did price that out. The Da Vinci product actually came in, it was very within a couple % of doing the real slate roof. So there really was an advantage of it to do the Da Vinci.
You're talking about the rubber?
Closer.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
The bid was closer to the $180,000.
Exactly, it was
number.
$180,000, yeah.
Okay.
So
How does the exposure of the asphalt shingle roof compare to the current exposure of the slate roof?
that's a good question. Let me double check on the bids. Oh, I've also brought samples. There are if you guys are interested in seeing, but as everyone's driven up and down Sheridan Road, there are several examples of Tudor houses where at some point their roof has been replaced with asphalt, including the Japanese consulate across the street. So if anyone was interested in seeing those. We're 8 inches with the cedar, and, I'm sorry, 8 inches with the asphalt. It's 18 inches on the slate, but that's the overall slate, so it'd probably be relatively similar. I don't have the exact. So the overall slate is 18 inches, but then they're stacked.
It's hard to tell from the images. Is the slate graduated at all, or is it an even exposure?
On the existing house, it's an even exposure, to my memory.
Other questions?
Knowing that the original roof was cedar shingle, did you look at an asphalt shingle that would have more of the
Yes,
appearance of a
actually we
cedar
did.
shake?
And I did bring a sample of that. This would be, and that would be something that we'd be open to. So this is the architectural shingle in a similar color, which is similar to the cedar shingle. Whereas this is a different color, but that's the slate line.
Right.
I think people have gotten used to seeing the house in slate, so the instinct was to replace it with a simulated slate shingle, but that's definitely something that we'd be open to consideration.
I mean, obviously, the slate was a very early change, but I guess I question it's maybe more of a personal preference, but I just find the asphalt shingle that pretends to be slate with kind of the black striping and shadow lines, I always find that very disappointing in real life when you see it, and very unconvincing as a substitute material for slate. And I think knowing that it was originally a cedar shingle roof, I'd much prefer, even if she sticks with the asphalt shingle, to go with one
That would be fine. She's mostly interested in the maintenance and the warranty of a asphalt roof.
I think it's just more. It's more similar to the texture of a
Certainly,
shingle
yeah.
roof.
Visually, from the street, it
Yeah.
looks.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that it bothers me that you've got a house that was designed one way, somebody made a decision, let's just say 90 years ago or whatever,
Right.
but that in fact we're introducing effectively a third roof without asking any of the original architects, if they were around, what their feeling was, and that, my preference would have been the cedar.
Sure.
And ironically, given the cost, I understand the long-term notions, but it's a lot. What is it? 30,000 less or something like that.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Actually,
Covers an awful lot of years of
ironically-
maintenance and replacement.
Ironically, the price went up $12,000 on Tuesday because of the new tariff.
Which
Right.
the cedar or
the cedar. The cedar was
Cedar,
$97,000
yeah, that's one of the
up to about a week
products
ago, and it went up to $112,000 with the new tariff.
they're coming from
Pick your
Canada?
place, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, those haven't actually been implemented yet. You're going to make the argument that it has.
Yeah,
They're just
well-
raising the prices, but they haven't really
Agreed.
implemented.
Agreed.
Right.
So I would,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, some of it.
think you
yeah.
buy it and then you store it
But
somewhere.
in any case, any other thoughts, questions on this one? Do we want to entertain a motion that would talk about using the asphalt version of the cedar?
Architectural.
The architectural cedar shingles? Is that something that folks
We do that as a motion before the motion?
No,
or-
I'm just
or as
bringing that
part
up
of the
right now
motion?
as a point of discussion.
Yeah,
It
could do it
can
that
be
way.
as a
Absolutely, yeah.
suggestion as part of the motion, yeah. So,
To try if we're at that
sounds
point.
good.
go ahead,
Sounds good.
Ken.
Go for it.
So I move we issue a certificate of appropriateness for the roof replacement at 1218 Sheridan Road with the understanding that the new roof would be the architectural asphalt shingle intending to mimic a cedar shingle roof appearance, and applicable standards for alteration 1 through 6, 9, and 10 apply.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jamie? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, I still want the full cedar.
Okay. All right. Okay, and you got that, Carlos, that Elliot voted no.
Elliot voted no.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You know, I seem to have taken a sign-in sheet with me somehow.
Oh,
Was the previous...
yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is the application for 1431 Judson Avenue. Or, pardon me, I'm sorry, 708 Michigan Avenue.
Ooh.
I'm moving things along too quickly. Yeah.
We were just going to skip you, Donnelly.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Glad I came over. I'm Donna Lee Floater, architect, and I'm here representing my clients, the homeowners of 708 Michigan. They weren't able to be here tonight, so they allowed me to represent them. I'm always technologically challenged with using this equipment, so this controls moving through this thing, and it's just,
So
this is a pointer. Does this also move through?
there's at the top.
Okay.
And then left and right, you go up and down.
Left or right? All right, let's see where we go. Oh, there's the front of the house. Looks like it was taken yesterday with our snowstorm. A nice little brick house in the Lakeshore Historic District. Since we're looking at the front of the house, one of the things we'd like to do, a quick overview. The house currently only has 2 bedrooms and 1 shared bath on the second floor. The homeowners would like to have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms for their family. So extending and enlarging dormers on the second floor is the reason that we are proposing this work. So the front dormer would be changed per the drawing that you'll see here in a bit. Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing again. That's the back. So there are 2 little shed dormers on either side of the house, and then the addition below is a frame-sided addition that was done, I'm guessing, approximately 15 years ago. We aren't proposing any changes. Well, I'll get to that, but that's staying the shape that it is. The best we can get of the side, best we can get of the other side, so it's somewhat narrow side yards, but it gives you an idea of what we're looking at here. Plat of survey, we have gone through the zoning analysis. There's no zoning issues, so we've gotten a certificate of zoning approval for the work already. That's just a site plan showing the work we're doing is dormers on the main block of the existing part of the house. That's the existing front elevation in drawing form. And that's the proposed dormer for the front. The bulk of the house is brick, as you saw in the photos. The dormers, the existing little dormers are stucco, and we would be doing these new dormers in stucco as well. That's the existing rear. This is the proposed. One thing about let me back up a second. One thing we want to do on the first floor, it's not shown as existing. There's actually, the first floor in that lower family room area has three narrower windows, and the homeowners are asking to have the one made larger in the center. That's the proposed dormers. Side view. Side view with the new dormers. South side existing with the little shed dormers. proposed with the new dormers. There's our little 3D of the back, showing the proposed new dormers on the front, on the back, and the view of the front. Just a little quick floor plan here. So showing that we've managed to fit in a lot in a not a very big amount of space. So there were two existing bedrooms. I don't know if we have no, I don't have an existing floor plan. But anyway, we're getting a master with a master bath, 2 bedrooms with a bath for the kids, and a little laundry and closets, et cetera, for the family to use. Any questions?
So the added-on portion is the master bath?
That is the front. The master bath is on the front, and that's
So it's
the
the
little
laundry
shed
room.
dormer that becomes a gable dormer, mimicking that front vestibule below. On the back, there's a little shed dormer that's where that shows study on the corner of the master bedroom. There's not a wall between those spaces now, but that's one of the little dormers. And then where we're showing bedroom 3, that's the other little dormer. So we're just connecting that across the back to enable the 3 bedrooms, more closets, the laundry, et cetera.
Go back to the front elevation.
Sure.
Maybe it was just that you went past it so quickly.
The
Not that one,
existing?
the head-on one.
That's the
No, no, whoops.
existing.
That's what's there now.
Yes, and currently that is the existing, it's the existing only bath on the second floor. Those are 2 awning windows with there's a bathtub right under there right now. And then this is the proposed.
Yeah, I'm a little bothered by that.
It looks a little top-heavy in the
Oh,
drawing.
the window,
but-
that whole weird window on that
In the
dormer.
bath, the narrower window, the
Well, I don't
taller
know what
as
it's
opposed
doing
to.
there, that little triangle and all the rest.
You want me to lop it off?
Well,
Whatever you want, Elliot.
never say. We're not allowed to say anything.
I know.
I mean,
Well, the other is the idea that if you look at the downstairs, and that's what I noticed when you were going through it,
Mm-hmm.
is that it's splayed a bit.
Yeah, that's the existing
And I'm
vestibule,
wondering
entry
whether you
vestibule.
couldn't, I live next door to somebody who did an addition, and they actually splayed it, and it actually made all the difference in the world, that little slope on it.
Well,
I don't
so,
know.
yeah, the bottom part is in brick, and the top part would be in stucco, but the sides could be angled out to mimic that.
Which is brick? I'm
It's-
sorry.
The whole first floor is brick.
if you
Yeah.
look at it.
You want me to go back
I
to
remember
photographs?
that now in the photo,
The
but then what
entire
is the
lower
upper
level,
part
that little bitty dormer that's
that you're building?
That's stucco now, and then this would also be stucco. There's no way to do that in brick.
No, I wouldn't have
But, yeah.
expected it to be brick. I'm just wondering whether that angle would help, and there's a little more trim on that. It's also, you've got that trim right above the door and the window on the ground floor, and there's none of that that's been carried through. On the other hand, you're not seeing it on the rest of the house. But I think it's that
Well, hang
window
on.
as well.
Let me,
And I don't know what that line
Maybe
of
back up.
flashing is there that you have. I don't know, what is that horizontal band?
intended to be, actually, it's not showing on this drawing. If I could back up all the way to the photographs. Oh, you can't even see it. You can sort of see there's a white band of trim below the windows, but you can't on the second floor.
So you're essentially retaining that?
Retaining that?
Well, it would be replaced in kind.
Hmm.
And when we drew that, it did look kind of top-heavy to me in the elevation. So thinking about that band trim made it feel less top-heavy to me, so.
Well, it's also, see, if you look at where the door on the floor below, where the address is, that came right across where the roof meets it, and you don't have any of that
Oh, at the
happening
top?
upstairs, but instead you introduce that bottom line. And I'm wondering whether, well, part of it is because of the height of your window. You know, your window reaches above, it looks like
Right.
it's taller.
Well, currently the window that's there, it's low and it's long and horizontal. In the new layout, there's a sink on either side of the window and enough head height for a person to stand there. So, I mean, I could,
It just,
I'm
I think
open
it's the
to
window more.
trim suggestions.
I would agree. My reaction was I thought the windows,
Yeah.
the window configuration in that was, especially given the way that the windows are and the rest of it, I think
Right.
either simplified more like the lower level or even, a 1/1, some sort of would be more appropriate to that particular position.
Is the bottom of the window defined by the sink?
Yeah.
Countertop?
The counter,
Okay.
yeah, the
All right,
if I flip to the plan,
well, here we go.
here we go.
Yeah.
So the window is between the two sinks in the master bath. And so it's defined by, the sill of the window is defined by the height of a normal bath vanity countertop.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I mean, I really question having a gable front on that dormer too. I mean, I think it really detracts from the original appearance of the front elevation where you have kind of that entrance porch is the front gable portion and everything else is sort of minimized. Especially the dormer is a very low profile, obviously, with that.
Well, the
shed.
existing one is low,
Very low.
which we would prefer not to keep because it's, in expanding it to 2 bathrooms, we need more headroom, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's maybe a way to go a little taller and larger to get the headroom, at least more headroom than you have now, without introducing another kind of front gable volume that takes over the whole front of the house.
Well, you could have a shed with a different slope, but I don't know
With a
if you want to
different-
do that. I mean, you could
I
just
think that's
slope it
more
differently.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more compatible than.
Well, the
this
one
gable
that's
would-
there is,
Yeah, and at least the way that the Lakeshore District thing reads, or, the reference from the survey, the resurvey, that likely wasn't original, so,
Oh, even the existing dormer.
yeah,
Original.
no, not at all.
Well, the thing is that when you're looking at this, where you start that, let's call it shed roof, instead of the gable, it could be anywhere. I mean, you could start it at the,
you mean the,
I'm
where
not
it
saying
meets
starting
the-
it at the peak of the house, but
Right, right.
Right.
if you
It-
needed
Eve
the
line can
headroom,
come up.
This is
if you wanted the
nearly
headroom, she
flat,
could have
and
just come down
more
from a
slope
higher
would be
elevation.
beneficial. But it would still, the gutter line would go up because we're trying to gain headroom to use the
Sure,
sinks at that
sure.
line. But
Well, I think it's more to
we
get
could
your
gain
headroom.
a more beneficial slope to it to have, I'm not a fan of flat roofs generally, so more slope is better.
Okay.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think it's a mistake to have it kind of be a mimic of the
Of the
front
ga- of
entrance
the-
porch. Yeah.
Okay?
I disagree. I actually thought the gable end, but not the way it was done, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think this one really looks like it came later. And
It
and a
did. It
larger,
obviously
and a
did.
larger version of this
Yeah,
would only exaggerate what came later.
yeah.
So I actually thought that trying to deal with the first floor and mimic it, if you want to call it that, had some value, but I think the window, and the irony is that you've not only got that window, but you've got that little outline around the window that looks like it's trying to
Well, I think that's
mimic what's
because
going on the first floor.
the first floor, again, is all brick and just has brick molding. There's
Right.
no flat trim, but when on stucco, I would prefer to do flat casing around the window.
I guess my question, does anybody have any other questions other than with this specific issue? Is this something that we want to see again, or is this something that we want to make recommendations on? Ken?
I'm inclined to ask for a.
It would be a
revised
big
version.
hardship on my client to have to return and not to be able to apply for a building permit now because they really need to get the work done. So I beg that you would allow us to revise it and have Carlos look at it.
I mean, I think it is limited to the front dormer. I don't take any issue with
Are we
anything
okay
that's
with
going
the
on in the back.
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
I'm just not clear. I mean, it seems like the two of you are proposing kind of opposite solutions. I'm just not sure where that leaves with either a recommendation or.
I mean, my recommendation would be to, if it just is a matter of headroom, to just kind of take the existing dormer and have a taller roof line on it, but keep the existing shape and overall form and not introduce another gable.
Elliot?
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I think we just don't know what it's going to look like.
We don't know what it's
when-
gonna look like,
When you were
yeah.
talking about it being top-heavy before, Diane, the question is, would this shed roof version of that be even more
Yeah, and I
top-heavy?
don't-
That's
I don't
what
know what the
worries me
dimensions
is
of it all would
just
be, is the
raising it
problem.
up.
Yeah.
What are the proportions
Yeah, I
then?
don't know.
That's why I actually thought that the gable, for whatever, minimized that look of just this big rectangle going up. That's the only reason for it. Otherwise, I mean, I think this is actually replicating what's on the back, I think. Sort of.
The back is
Let's
really
see, where's the
very
back?
different.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, actually not anymore.
Well, this is what's currently on the back, and those are not original to the house
Yeah.
either. And then this is
Which
the
is interesting,
proposed.
because you've got a slope matching what came later.
Because that's what
Yeah,
it's
I know.
it's
That's fine.
being referred to the back. You can't see the front and the back at the same time.
Don't go
If
there.
I may.
Please don't go there.
Yeah.
If I may,
Yes, go ahead, Carlos.
can you guys hear me? Maybe you could provide the rendering of the both versions, and if the commission is agreeable, I can circulate those to no more than 3 commissioners with their opinion. And if we have a majority, then we can proceed. Because it seemed like
Yeah.
it's undecided which way would be best at this point.
Okay, yeah, since that's still technically within the rules.
What was that? I'm sorry, I don't understand that. 3 commissioners. Carl.
So we cannot have
We would,
action
it would essentially
with a
be
majority of a quorum.
be
so we have to
deferred
do it
really, until,
with only
yeah,
3.
yeah.
No, otherwise we have a meeting. Yeah, we have limitations as to
What we can
how many
do
we
on
can do
this,
without
yeah.
calling the whole meeting.
Got it.
Yeah, and so, just from an open meeting standpoint, we have
Sure.
to, yeah. So is that what everyone would prefer to do, is that revised drawings are submitted to Carlos and he circulates it to up to 3 people for their review, and then it's subsequently approved by Carlos, assuming the commissioners who review it approve it, or most of them do?
I will suggest we have 3, at least you have to have 2 for one of those options.
Okay, 2? All right.
Majority of,
Yeah, I mean, probably,
So you're saying
since
at least 2
Ken
need to
and,
agree.
since Ken and Elliot had a number of the questions, that it should go to them. Okay,
We need a third?
maybe.
Make
We'll
it Julie, because she's not here, and let her.
No, I think that if we need a third, I'll be the
I'm just
third,
kidding.
yeah. Okay, if we can have, how would we best construct the motion, Scott? We haven't done this one for a while. That the application be resubmitted to Carlos, is that how we should structure that?
I'd like to make a suggestion.
Sure.
So why don't you make a motion to approve with the, as submitted with the suggestion either to peak the shed or the gable, subject to the comment from no more than 3 commissioners, with a majority to agree one way or the other. So you're approving the concept, the design, all that you're just not sure about which one is better.
Well, we're really not approving the design, though.
Well, that, with the motion would be to do that.
We
with
have
the
to
option of.
approve now or come back. That's the
Right.
two
Yeah.
alternatives.
Yeah,
Can we move that the rest of it be approved?
right.
I want to incorporate the back
Yeah,
as
the
being
back,
approved. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that, and that the front dormer be subject to that. Okay. Anyone want to take that motion on? Elliot?
Oh, thanks. I'm not sure what I'm moving now. I think I'm,
Essentially, we're moving
know.
to approve the
Yeah.
rear portion of the project with the fact that the review of the front shed dormer will be referred to Carlos for subsequent review by additional commissioners. And
made that motion. May I second it, or you're?
no, and then standards for alteration and demolition apply. So,
I'll try. I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness for 708 Michigan Avenue for approving the,
That's the wrong address, I think.
isn't it?
No, that's right.
708
that's
Michigan.
correct.
It says 708 here.
708 is what it is.
Okay, 708
correct.
Michigan, okay. For the, let's say, the rebuilding and enlarging the shed dormers on the rear with gable shed combination roof to allow the construction of the bedrooms and baths at the rear, and with the provision that for the front dormer would either be a gable or a shed dormer enlarged to accommodate the master bath, subject to review by two of the commissioners? Three, I'm sorry.
up to 3.
Up, no more than three.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
Mark? All in favor signify.
I left out.
Oh,
Just
the
minute.
standards, pardon me.
Standards.
Yes, thank you.
For alteration, the standards that are applicable here are alterations 1 through 5, 9 and 10, and for demolition 1 through 5.
And so that motion is amended. Mark, you still want to say?
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Just so I'm clear,
Sure.
you're asking me to give you two possibilities? A better version of the gable and a version with the shed? That you can
Yeah,
debate
just for
between-
that,
just for the front
that,
dormer.
for that.
But a better
The rest
version of both. And then
Yeah.
we can-
Exactly,
Yeah,
a
the
better version of
yeah.
both a shed and a gable.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the rest, essentially all of the rear things have been approved.
Is fine, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, Donnelly.
Okay. Next is 1431 Judson.
I am Susan.
Yeah. And if you could introduce yourself,
Yeah.
please.
I'm Susan Regan, and I am David and Julie Cutter's architect for their porch addition. And they know I'm here tonight for them. And so I have no clue. Not yet.
No, it's not.
No, that's wrong
For some
one.
reason.
That's Donnelly's.
I know.
Just scroll to the next page, I think.
Yeah.
Just the cover page might be
Yeah.
correct.
There was something about that. I remember that. I saw the same 708 twice.
Right, that's a different project, right? That's not-
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I see what you mean.
this is it.
This is it. This is yours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
it just,
is-
for some reason, you
Yeah,
had the
it's
same first
because they
page.
were, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Confusion? Hold on, let me. There you
So, the house is on Judson. This is a view from Judson, and you really don't see the porch, the current deck porch to be from this view. And this is the other side of the front of the house, and you might barely see it from this view. You can see that wonderful tree that's back there, which is right up kind of against the deck, very close to the upper level deck that's there. So you would see a little bit of it from this view. This is from Lake Street sidewalk, kind of looking over the neighbor's fence, and so you can kind of see that one story and the shape of the roof line. So you would see it a bit from here. And this is from the alley. So again, you see that tree, and you're sort of, looking over a lot, but you'd probably catch a glimpse of it here as well. And here. So that's all from the alley. So this is the current back of the house, and there's a lot going on. You can see the original house.
Susan, there's a pointer at the top.
Yeah.
Like a star.
Okay, that's all the original part of the house, and then there's an addition, one story. That's older too, but this is an addition that was done 80s, and this as well. So yeah, that's all existing, and it's kind of dark, but you can see the existing deck here. You walk out there, and there's an upper level and a lower level, and some steps that way and some steps this way, and so that you kind of get a little better view of the deck. So that's everything that's going on the back of the house. That's the existing deck. And so here are the drawings. You can see the plan of that upper level where you walk out. And this is they're using this as kind of a little family room, and they really want this to kind of be an extension of that. And here's like that's way back, and this is forward of that, and this is forward of that. There's the plot plan. You can see it's a very deep lot. So this is what we would like to do. That upper level deck becomes a screened-in porch, a little bit of rearrangement of the steps, and then down to the yard. So basically trying to keep this as minimal as possible, just picking up the lines of the roof, the eave line and fascia line there. And next shot. Okay, this is from the south elevation existing. Yeah, lot happened to this house over the years. And here, so this is what it becomes with the new porch. Again, like kind of picking up that line. And then here, this is from the north. Because of that little one-story flat roof mudroom entry, you don't, and the one-story addition that's coming out, you don't really see that other three-story addition behind, but here, and here you see some of the new porch sort of peeking out. Again, like just picking up all those lines. And here is, I think this kind of helps explain all the stuff that's going on with the roofs. So there's this valley that was created when this was done. And then there's a valley here created when, that's existing. So when this is all, everything's existing, this is the new part. And just, again, trying to keep it as minimal and volumetrically as small as possible, given the tree. And also, I should say, we are in for a minor variation on this lot line. The Cutters spoke to their neighbors like first thing long ago about this to get their input, and so they know about it and they're on board with that. So yeah, just trying to keep it low profile and as traditional, more like just a very traditional screen porch that is just coming off of this addition that's already there. So, and here you can kind of see how they had some huge icicles and stuff when we had that bad storm. Here again, there's a lot going on here. So to keep the roof line so that drainage is fairly straightforward was a key part of this too. So that's all that's going on at 1431 Judson currently, and hopefully with their screen porch. I don't know. Any questions?
Questions from the commissioners?
So the only part that's actually moving out is that one that we see there on the left, just from the face of that.
That's all existing.
That's existing, so it's only this little portion here that's moving out.
Yes,
Okay.
it's over that upper
Yeah.
deck with basically taking what is a deck that gets a lot of stuff from that tree on it, it's making it harder to use, and making it a screen porch. So I can go back to the plan if that helps. There. So, yeah, that's all existing. And right now you walk out onto a deck.
Go back to the existing, which is, I think, one before it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're actually roofing over the entire deck?
No, the upper level.
Yeah, that's what I meant. From the face of the house on the, whatever, in the upper left, all the way out, all the way out.
Yeah,
All
here,
of that.
this is new
Yeah.
roof.
Right, okay.
Right there.
Okay.
And can you clarify again the zoning variation aspect
The
of this?
zoning variation is on this side.
Okay.
And, well, currently the house here is, I believe it's 3.71.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
asking for that to align this. When David and Julie bought this,
That was the deck already incurring
this
into that?
stuff was all done like
Yeah.
literally in the 80s.
So
And that three-story portion is 3.7 or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
feet.
Yes.
It's already
Yes,
intruding.
it's already in there.
Basically, it's the,
Yeah.
as soon as she,
Everything
as soon as she
is
Yeah.
walls off that deck, it's
Yeah.
becoming.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I was going to say, they stripped some pretty horrendous aluminum siding. Actually, I remember the house from the 80s, but anyway, it was sided with aluminum, and so it's, wonderful, that wonderful narrow lap siding here, and so, yeah, we like to stay at the corner board, and also the windows start up pretty quick, so it makes sense to stay in line.
Yeah.
And the neighbors are all on board, so.
Okay. Any other questions on this one? Can we entertain a motion? And we need to, in addition to alteration, construction obviously applies, and then there needs to be a recommendation for the minor zoning variation, to which standards A and C apply.
Okay. Art, you want to do it? He always likes the judicial one.
I'll move, we issue a certificate of appropriateness for 1431 Judson for the construction of a new one-story wood screen-in porch at the existing open deck structure at the rear of the house. And that's in accordance with applicable standards for alteration 1 through 5 and 8 through 10, and for construction 1, 3, 5, 8, 10, 12, and 15. So that we then separate the zoning.
Right. Is there a second?
Second.
Elliot?
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, Robert?
Robert already did.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? No abstentions? Okay. And then we need a motion for the zoning recommendation.
So I'll move we issue for 1431 Judson, we issue a recommendation for approval of a minor zoning variation for, to change the interior side setback on the south side of the property from 5 feet to 3.7 feet, in line with the existing home and deck. And it's zoning variations A and C.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Elliot? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, I thought I was going to be here till 10.
Well, we can
Very-
figure out a way to do it.
No. And next is 629 Foster, and I assume you gentlemen are all here for that?
Yeah,
Okay.
last but not least. Thanks, everyone, for staying late. So this is a renovation to the Halil House. This serves Northwestern University.
Can you tell us who you are?
Oh, sorry, Mike Shively, I'm the architect.
Okay.
The building was built in the 1990s and is a non-contributing structure in the historic district there. We were largely charged with an interior renovation. The building, when it was built in the 90s, just times have changed in terms of technology and function. There's a lot of small offices. For example, there's also 2 kitchens to serve the functions there. They don't actually prepare any food there. So we're using the opportunity inside the building to clear out a lot of those small spaces and make it much more flexible and workable to the way students use the building now. As we went through that process, we advocated for additionally bringing some additional natural light into the building. We're going to move the study spaces more to the front, and we'd just like the opportunity to introduce more light into the building. I can show you. I'm going to skip ahead and I'll go back. On the left, you'll see the existing elevation. For whatever reason, the windows were built quite squatty in the 90s. I don't know if that was a budget consideration or what, but it does contribute to the very dark spaces inside. You can see on the elevation on the left, which is existing, front door is quite squat. It has a large limestone cap above it. To the right, that is an existing study space where the window heads are probably about 6'8". And then in the second floor, there's a sort of signature 90s windows in the study space above the front door. And to the right, those are some private offices that, again, have quite low window heads. So starting with the right side of the building, if you look at the proposed elevation, we're proposing using an existing 2-high Rolock or a soldier core span of brick as a datum line to introduce some transom windows above those existing windows, and doing the same on the second floor, aligning to a Rolock of brick plus the trim that's above it to introduce a transom line above those double windows. Then for the main study space that's on the second floor, and I'll go to our rendering to better illustrate this, We're proposing matching the proportions of those existing windows, these sort of vertical rectangles, to create a mold-together assembly that will make that entire space much more light-filled. And then at the first floor, really surrounding the height of the front doors with transom windows and glass panels that come down to the base of the first floor. Then to sort of update the appearance around that entry piece, we're proposing matching the existing limestone sills on the building with a limestone piece that'll trace the shape of that existing gable. There's actually no increase in the building's footprint. We're not sort of projecting anything. So consequently, we've gotten the approval of the zoning. There's no sort of change to it. We're just here tonight to hopefully get your approval. In addition to meeting with you, we did hold a neighbor meeting last week, actually 2 weeks ago, to make sure that everyone in the area was sort of on board and felt, part of the process. There's actually only one home on this street that is still a private home. That is photo number 5. Very nice woman. She's the only one that actually will be directly able to see this change, and she was in full support, as was everyone else that attended the neighborhood meeting.
Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Any questions?
I would also just say I did bring samples of the window, if you'd like to see that.
If you know what, if you can just sort of set it up on the top there, we can take a look at it.
Right.
Can we see the plan, because all of this was based on trying to get more light in, as I recall looking at go back and forget the basement
Right.
plan.
We're not solving that one. So this is the proposed first floor plan. The front of the building is to the right of the drawing. So you can see we're creating entry vestibule for security for the building. The greeter that's there will be able to see someone coming in and buzz them through that second airlock door. And then the rest of the majority of the front of the first floor is an open study space that is really quite dark right now. So that will be greatly benefited by adding the transom windows along the front of the building. And on the second floor, it's a large study space. There's going to be, between this space and this space, these are some glass walls just for sound. If there is more of a rowdy study group going on here, someone can still sort of come in here and get a quiet moment. But the addition of all that glass along the facade here will really come into the building.
Well, that's just a 2-story space, isn't it?
It is, correct.
Yeah. Which means it's going to be a big greenhouse facing south.
Well, we are using, obviously, insulated windows. We're matching the existing windows, which are wood with aluminum cladding. And so we're proposing the new windows be Marvin.
Well, it's not a question of them being Marvin. I just see it as a big 2-story heated space that you've got it glazed on both sides, and you've just got this big 2-story space. Is that right?
It's not 2 stories, actually.
Well, you're going to tell me about the gable, but
Yeah.
it's still 2 stories.
I think the ridge in that room is probably 15 feet. I'd say in addition to, obviously, natural light being a priority for the building users, another aspect of the project is just sort of making it feel more welcoming. That's the mission of the organization. And right now, it's quite blunt on its facade.
I've been in that building a lot, so I've never had that experience that you're describing. I don't know if anybody else has been in that building, but I've gone in there a number of times, so I've never felt anything about that. And I guess one of the problems I have with what you've done now is that it's really taken away from what might have been, even if it's hard to believe, a residential scale, which was that first floor, if you can go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we unfortunately went through a long and painful process a couple months ago of, something that was more akin to what we now see here on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really bothered by something that just is not in the character. I realize that across the street is Northwestern, and probably all the neighbors that you talk to are Northwestern, but they're all residential buildings other than the parking lot directly across the street. And so, to some extent, the residential character is still, this building is much more residential, the old one, than anything that I'm seeing there on the right. That entrance, that band of stone running all the way around is sort of a strange way to use what I consider to be a bearing material with a lot of glass. So, I'm just not seeing this at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, I think what I'm struggling with is the existing structure, while it's a new structure, is clearly meant to, I'd say, fit with the residential character of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the question is, although the question is it, should we be looking at whether it should continue to match the residential character of the neighborhood, or is this more viewed as kind of part of the Northwestern campus with modern buildings behind it? And I think it's a tough issue. I mean, you show some pictures. I'm not sure I've got the whole. I mean, I wish at this point I'd gone to see it. I don't know that I have the entire picture of what the site is. But
the context is slightly different than the previous case that we looked at, but the reality is that it's still. There is the the house with the shutters that's across the street. The parking lot is there, and I assume that's the resident that you were speaking of earlier. And, even some of the uses that are, I guess, more proximate to the university are lower scale there. That this just seems like a much larger change than I would have expected to even achieve the kinds of objectives that you're talking about, to bring in additional light and whatever. So,
well, it is a new house. I mean, and the test isn't whether the modifications themselves change the historic structure. The test is still whether the house is consistent with the neighborhood, and I think it's a big change. I mean, I think the building that's there now really resonates. I mean, it looks. I mean, if you just look quickly, it looks a lot like an older building that's consistent with a lot of the other buildings in the neighborhood. And I think after this change, it's sharply different, and is no longer. I mean, it's it no longer relates to the structures on, in Orrington, for example, at all.
Right.
It's a very challenging street because it gets kind of burly right around there. There's a horrific gym 2 doors down that has no character whatsoever to the east. And of course, we have the dormitory across the street that is not low scale. So, as an architect, it is a challenging street to sort of find cohesiveness in. I think what we were really trying to achieve is just making it a much more handsome building. It is very blunt right now, at least was the feedback of everyone that works there.
I guess my feeling is much the same. I think they clearly went out of their way to design something that would fit with, knowing that it's in the district, that would fit in with the kind of single-family residential scale of the district as a whole, and that's been lost in the proposed change. I mean, I think no one's going to say that you have to follow the original design. It's more, with whatever changes you make, does it still have the kind of residential scale?
Yep.
And I think you can do a lot to enlarge window openings and bring in more natural light without going to the extent of kind of recladding and reimagining that whole front mass.
yeah, it's really a refacading almost.
It really is. And I think one of the things that bothers me as I look at it is that there's a lot more, I hate to say elegant detailing, all that, the stone above the windows and all of that, carried across. And all of that's gone now. I mean, you've kind of gotten rid of anything that might have had, might have at least borrowed from some of the character of the older buildings on that campus or down the block. Not the Victorian wood houses, and it's been stripped. I mean, you've stripped every bit of detail out of it and just put what could have been a curtain wall. I mean, it doesn't have to be Marvin windows. I don't know what that main entrance is, but it just looks like a big aluminum curtain wall. And those could be revolving doors at the middle, because it's just it's sort of a shopping mall entry. And that's not what was there before. Before, you could see the doors, you could get the scale of the doors, you got the scale of the windows, and that was the residential character that was there. And that thing at the front doesn't have any of that. And that's really unfortunate. You're not even carrying that line across anymore.
Jamie or Robert, do you have any comments at all on this one?
I'm pretty much in agreement with everything that's been said.
Okay.
Well, from a logistical standpoint on our end, we did present several design iterations to the owners of the building and the management of it, and they chose to go with what I would describe as kind of the most bold move, like sort of like if you're going to go for it. Fully expecting, especially given with what has happened with some other organizations recently, that we probably would not get approval tonight. So what I would ask from you is what specific feedback you would have. Maybe if we could sort of break it in half. I do believe on the right side, it is definitely a primary objective to get more light into those spaces. And personally, I feel like the transoms are a really elegant solution to that, and that we're aligning with the brick details on the building. Obviously, having transom windows is a very residential sort of quality, so I would appreciate any feedback you have on that. And then on the main entrance, really any feedback you have. I appreciate your comment about limestone, being more of a...
It's the lintel. There just isn't a lintel anymore. I mean, and here's a question for you. You're raising that window, and I guess you're getting rid of the stone and saying, I'm going to just kick this window all the way up to the ceiling. What are you doing around the corner? Because there's windows in that room on the east side.
Yeah,
where did those? I mean, we're not even seeing that elevation.
We're not proposing any changes to any elevation.
So you're going to go back down to the windows that were there?
Right. So we would maintain the existing window head height and then pop a transom above that.
I mean, I think we needed to see that side.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing the whole building, and I think we're still going to be seeing the whole building.
Right.
This isn't a Western storefront.
Right.
Okay.
Are there, do any of you have some specific suggestions? I think probably what I'm hearing is that the front area, certainly around the door, is of big concern. And any suggestions you want to?
I think to put it in kind of more global terms, kind of building on what Elliot was getting at, is that the existing windows, while they're small, they took care to kind of give it some articulation of the sill and of the lintel and kind of tie that in. And I think you can certainly have larger openings, but I'd encourage you to look at how can you introduce some of that finer grain detail so that it isn't just the opening gets enlarged to whatever it wants to be and it just collides with the running bond brick and has no detailing whatsoever around the opening anymore.
And I think that there's a way to achieve the additional light doing that too. Elliot, did you have some specific feedback?
I've said everything I'm going to say tonight.
Jamie, did you have any feedback on it?
Other than, in addition to everything, I think some, as I mentioned, additional views, oblique views, so we can see how the projection, what, if anything's happening on the sides of the projection, just more images, maybe expanding into seeing how it relates to its immediate neighbors.
Yeah, and I think what I said before, because I'm really bothered now that I realize that things change around the sides, and you're either changing them or not changing them, but we really should have seen, I guess, all of the views that matter.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. I think with that, I think we'd like to see this one next month if we can.
Absolutely.
And Carlos can provide you with the deadlines on meeting things for the next meeting and whatever. In the interim, I think what we need to do is have a motion to defer this one until May 8th? Okay.
Let me ask you this, would you have time to submit revised plans or drawings by April 17th?
Absolutely.
Okay. If we can have the motion to defer this one.
I move that we defer 629 Foster till the next meeting, which
That's
is
May 8th.
May 8th.
Is there a second? Mark, all in favor? Signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank
you
you
for the
very
feedback.
much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from March. Did we get those?
No,
Carlos?
I will
Okay.
bring those next.
Next time? Okay. And then in terms, we were going to take a look at the rules and procedures tonight. In talking with Scott at the start of the meeting, there's some changes that we need to circulate a clean copy of this that's completely updated to everyone for their review. What we'd like to do is get that out to you in the next few days so you can review it. If anyone has any comments, if they could get them to Carlos in advance of publication for the May meeting, so sometime that first week in May. And then what we would like to do is take a look at anybody's comments as part of that, and if we can vote on it at that point, and we should have a pretty good sense of where we're going with the council at that point on the ordinance too.
I have a question about these.
Sure.
Mario's were, there was the one that
There's-
said
it's not-
DCW, which was
it's-
yours,
yeah.
were from November.
And that's part of the problem, is some of the things haven't been incorporated, so we want to send you the most current version
And then there
of
was
it.
Mario's of December, and I kept
Yeah.
thinking yours was a more recent one until I looked at the date on it.
Yeah.
And went,
No.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Those are the ones.
That was what had been circulating before, and so
Okay.
I think it'll be easier if you guys see a
That worked
clean
for those of
copy.
you who are
Yeah.
meeting every other
Yeah,
Thursday or
That's
whatever.
right. And just to, by way of update, the updated ordinance is going to the council for introduction on April 23rd and for consideration on, what date is it, Scott? May 14th, is that correct?
We're currently anticipating that the Planning and Development Committee will consider introduction of the ordinance at their next meeting on April 23rd. And if they
Right.
did introduce it that night, then it would be for action on May 14th.
On the 14th, right. So that's where that is. I know that Julie and Elliot and Jack were working.
Yeah, I had a couple of thoughts. By the way, thank you for sending the latest guidelines. It was nice to have a copy. Those are the latest, apparently. They were hot off the press.
They are, yeah.
I wasn't clear as to how much we needed to, I was going to start rereading what we had with all of that, but it seemed as if the real question was the rest of that guideline thing. We had a lot of emails back and forth, which was where's the rest of the web page, website.
Yeah, and you guys have a better sense of that than I do.
Well, no,
so-
Carlos may.
Oh, okay.
I think it's
Oh, I see.
where is-
In
where's
terms of
Hillary?
the, I got it. I'm sorry.
We have
A little dense tonight.
We have the links posted on the website, but it's not made public.
It's not live?
It's not live.
Okay.
And my concern was that if we were to do that and you're going to make alterations or revisions to based on the ordinance, we want to have the latest version of that. I mean, if you want to see it, I can send you the link. You can open it. But it's the same version that you submitted, the different links to different
Yeah, they were
documents.
Yeah, the links.
It's there.
The links were pretty much the same. I agree.
Okay. So the change was that you had given Hillary to put this in some form, and she did it like a matrix. And then their suggestion was later that it should be just a list without a matrix. So I did that. So it's there with the same information.
That was the thing that we didn't know, because I think that in going over it, the changes with the ordinance I don't think are that major because the ordinance itself gets dropped in as a link.
For
So
what
we're not going
you're
to have to
talking
change
about.
very much. I mean, I can go back and look at some of the language that I wrote
Yeah.
along the way, but
Once it's approved, you can do that, and the other,
Yeah.
probably the bigger changes relate to what's in the rules and procedures, but that's been streamlined, but again, that's just something you're
It's a link.
dropping that in.
yeah, I think the biggest thing that was going to get dropped in was that, let's call it the matrix of what's minor, major.
Right,
and-
that's exactly,
Right.
we're talking about the same thing, and that's what, if we can get that approved next.
So it went from, we need to have a meeting, to let's not have a meeting, to let's wait and see what happens, and so the group never met.
Oh, okay, well, that's fine.
Just for that reason. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, it suddenly became, why are we meeting?
Yeah. Okay.
There's an update.
All right, thanks, Elliot. Staff reports, Carlos, you want to talk about the awards?
Yes. So we have received a record number of nominations, total of 26. However, we don't have the capacity to review all of them in one day or even the way we plan it. Usually we get anywhere between 10 to 15 tops. So some of the projects I would suggest, particularly Northwestern submitted 12 nominations, that they could maybe breaking it down so that the oldest projects can be part of like maybe a group of 4 for this year, and then the other 8 submit subsequently, so that they don't exceed the 5-year limit that we have for nominations. So we do have that number. We did a good job, I think, spreading the word through different sources, so that's why we have this record number of nominations. The jury will be out for the tours on April 19, which is a Thursday, and we also plan to have the reception and award ceremony on April 26, also a Thursday. I believe at least half of the commissioners have confirmed their attendance. We made efforts to bring to the attention of the mayor that day, but he is out of town. So on April 12th, we have scheduled an interview with him so that he will have a welcoming message to the attendance of the reception and the award ceremony. And we will start at 6:30 p.m. And about 7 p.m. we will have the awards. The idea is that both the site visits and the awards will be recorded so that Anderson, who's the videographer for the city, can prepare a video for the council on May 21st, I believe is the date, to be displayed at the council. And we have a limitation of 5 minutes for the video. So we plan to cram a lot of information in that amount of time. Also, Jamie has volunteered to have a new design for the sign and maybe for the certificates. I haven't had a chance to open the email that she sent me today at some point, but I'd like to work with her, continue, and I appreciate the time that you spend on it. So we're trying to do things differently and hopefully better.
Thanks, Carlos. Just a couple of quick things. I know you were submitting the grant application for the camp program, which I believe was due March 15th. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't report on that. Yes, we did submit it on time, and we're just waiting for the response.
Sure.
I got confirmation of the receipt of the application, I believe the day after when we submitted, which was on time.
Okay, great. And just as another point of information, I think Julie sent it to you, and then it was circulated by Carlos that the traditional building conference is going to be in Oak Park on the 24th and 25th of this month. So
That was amazing. I just got it from them today.
yeah,
I looked at the date and said, my God,
Yeah.
why don't they wait till the day before is the last day to register?
Yeah, I actually had gotten it, I think it was the day after it came via Julie from some of the folks
Well, I
I've
think
worked with in Oak Park.
Jack Weiss
so.
sent it.
He did it, he did
Yeah.
too, yeah. So,
I don't know what they're doing to wait that long.
yeah. And with that, does anybody else have any announcements, any comments? Otherwise, we can have a motion to adjourn here.
I move that we adjourn.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, thank you very much.